Let's do Valentine's Day, but make it mint. Valentine's Day doesn't have to only be about the pinks and reds. It can be untraditional. And I've got this beautiful January flavor of the month from Sea and Designer Dips. This is the Winter Mint bundle, and I was so obsessed with these colors. But of course, I wanted to incorporate Valentine's Day because I want to do as many manis as I can. So today's video is going to be just a little bit of a dip with me, and I'm going to do a little bit of a freestyle color block. So if you want to see how I create this look, stick around and we'll get into it. If you're not familiar with Sea and Designer Dips flavor of the month, they are color curated bundles, and for the month that they're a part of the bundle, all the colors are 50% off. And it's a mixture of new dips as well as existing mainline colors. These two dips are the new dips that were created for this Winter Mint bundle. So we have Winter Mint and Mint to Be. And then for the existing colors, we have these three. So that means they are already part of the main line, but for the month of January, because they are part of the bundle, they're 50% off. So let me show you swatches of these colors before we jump into this mani. I'm going to be doing the gel method for this mani, so that means instead of using dip liquids, my dip base activator and dip top coat, I'll be using gel base and gel top coat. And the gels I'm using are from Sea and Designer Dips as well, and they're a HEMA-free formula. So jumping right into the mani, I'm starting with my gel base. So your gel base is used in place of your dip base. But regardless of the liquids that I use for my mani, I always like to start with my solids first and encapsulate them before I move on to the glitter. So I've only got one solid for this mani, and this is going to be Julep, and that's going to go on my index finger and pinky. Now, the advantage of working with gels is I can do multiple fingers at one time. I don't like to go too crazy, but since both fingers will have Julep on them, I'm going to go ahead and apply my gel base to both my fingers before I pour over my powder. Gels won't cure until you put them in the lamp, so that's the major advantage to working with gels, is you have all the time you need. You can play around with it, you can take your time, you don't have to rush, and then when you're ready, you can cure in the lamp. So I actually like that I can do multiple fingers at one time, but I am a bit accident prone. I can be a bit clumsy, so I have to be really careful, which is why I won't do all my fingers at one time, because having that wet gel on my nails, I'm more prone to bump something and mess it up. So I'm just going to do, probably the max I'll do is 2 fingers at a time, just because I get concerned about myself really and messing it up. And whenever I'm doing gel method, my preference is to pour over my powder. I would never recommend dipping directly into your dips when you have wet gel on your fingers, because it's going to remain wet. It's not going to dry. You could displace the gels, you could push it into your skin, you could get wrinkling or buckling. So I don't suggest you dip into the jar. I think the best method is to pour over or just lightly lay flat in the powder, but you definitely don't want to displace that gel. And you will see with the pour over, I do pour over a couple times because I want to make sure that gel base is fully absorbed with that powder. So if it still looks a little wet after one pour over, I may pour over a little bit more just to get more absorption. And then of course I want to make sure I'm cleaning up around my cuticle area and my sidewalls, make sure I don't have any gels on my skin. And then once I have everything all cleaned up, I will give it a cure for 30 seconds. If I were doing one layer on all 5 of my fingers first, I would have just flash cured these 2 fingers, gone on to my rest of my hand, and then done a full cure for 30 seconds before going into my second layer. But because I'm doing one color at a time, I want to go into my second layer of Julep. I went ahead and fully cured it for 30 seconds. So now I'm getting into my second layer. So I dusted off the excess powder. And because it was sheer on the first layer, I decided I didn't want to pour over. So pouring over, you get thinner layers. And because I wanted more opacity, I wanted to only do 2 layers. I decided I was going to lay my finger flat in the powder, but I'm going to do this very gently, very carefully, because like I said, I don't want to displace the wet gel. So I went ahead and poured the rest of my jar of julep into my Dipped in Chaos. I'm applying my gel base to my index finger, and then I'm going to turn my hand upside down and just very gently place it in the powder. I don't want to jam it in. I want to be really slow, really careful, just to make sure I'm not moving around that gel. And I'll do that a couple times just to make sure the gel base is fully absorbed. I've always had a preference for using dip liquids just because I prefer dip top coat and the hardness of that. But I have to say, the more I use gel method, it is growing on me. I don't think it'll ever be my preference, but I am enjoying doing gel method every once in a while. I do find that it's quicker than doing dip liquids, but I don't know, maybe it's just old habits die hard and I learned on dip liquids, that's why my preference. But I'm curious what your preference is. Do you prefer dip liquids or do you prefer using gel method, and why? Let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to know your reasoning on what you prefer. Once I finish with my second layer, I want to make sure I encapsulate my solids before moving on to my glitter. But gel does not play nicely with clear dip powder. So instead of using clear dip to encapsulate, I'm using gel base and gel top coat. So I'm applying a even layer of gel base to my entire nail. I'm curing them for 30 seconds, and then I will go in with a layer of gel top coat and cure that for a full 60 seconds. Now, depending on if you go ham with filing and buffing, you may be able to get away with just a layer of gel base, curing that, and then wiping off the tacky layer and filing and buffing on top of that. But I go a little ham sometimes, so I wanted a little extra protection on my color, which is why I prefer to do gel base and gel top coat, and then I'll file and buff. But I'm not going to file and buff until I'm done with all my fingers. I'm just going ahead and encapsulating so I don't contaminate my solids with glitter. I'm going to do sort of a freehand color block design on my middle finger, which is one of the main reasons I wanted to do gel method, so I had plenty of time to do this. So I put some gel base down on my resin palette, and then I have my gel liner brush, and I'm just dipping that into the gel base, and vertically down the center of my nail, I'm kind of drawing like a curvy line. I tried to zoom in as much as possible, but I know it's probably really hard for you to see because I'm using clear gel base. And it was hard for me, even with it being in person, to see it. So I'm just drawing that kind of curvy line. I'm just making it a little bit thicker. There's not any like particular width or design I'm kind of going for. I'm just kind of making it a little of a curvy line. And so I did that on both sides. And apologies, I had to cut out the other lines because I went out of frame because I was so focused on getting those lines and not having them bleed into each other. So I did 3 lines total on my nail, and then I went ahead and poured over the powder to absorb that wet gel base. And now I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup. So this is my precision tool from CN Designer Dips. That's what I use to clean up my cuticle area. It's actually dual-ended, so the other end of it is actually a pointed silicone end, which is really great for cleaning up gels. So my lines got a little muddled together because I couldn't really see the clear gel, so it's going to be a lot easier once I get to my second layer because I have that color now. But I'm just going to do a little bit of cleanup just to separate the lines a little bit more, make them a little more curvy where I want them curvy. And then once I've got it cleaned up the way I want it, I'm going to go ahead and give it a cure for 30 seconds. My second layer is going to be a lot easier because now I have a colored line that I can trace rather than trying to freehand with clear gel. So I'm going to follow the same process. I'm going to take my gel liner brush and some gel base, and I'm just going to trace those 3 lines. And then once I've got those 3 lines covered in gel base, I'm going to pour over the powder, and then I will cure for 30 seconds. After I've got my 2 layers of julep completed and fully cured, I want to go ahead and fill in that space. So it isn't going to be a negative space mani. I actually want to fill that in with a color. So this is why I'm using gels, because it's taking me a while. So I'm taking my liner brush and my gel base, and I'm filling in the space in between those lines with my gel base. So I want to make sure that everything is fully covered. And then once I've got my gel base in all the other space, I'm going to pour over mint jelly. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because I don't want any texture. I want them to be smooth and even. So I'm going to do 2 layers of mint jelly as well. If you don't mind texture, you could have just done your 2 dips of, say, mint jelly as your base on your entire nail, and then use some gel to draw in your lines of julep. But of course, then your nail would be uneven. So I kind of wanted to make them even and smooth, because I'm the type of person where texture bothers me. So that's why I'm doing it this way. And it was kind of fun to do.
Invincible.
I went ahead and finished up off camera, so here's how the mani's looking. So on my thumb, I dipped in mint jelly, 2 dips of that, and on my ring finger, I have winter mint, 2 dips of that. I encapsulated in my gel base and gel top coat, filed and buffed. So here's where we're at, and now I'm just going to do a little bit of nail art on my thumb. It's just going to be quick and simple. It's going to be hearts, but it's going to be a little bit different. I don't know exactly what you call it. But I've got these 3 gel liners from C and Designer Dips. They're also a HEMA-free formula. So I'm just applying a little dot of these 3 colors on my resin palette. I don't need a lot at all, because a little bit of gel goes a long way. So these are just the small little dots, and even this is too much gel. So I'm starting with my heart routine. So I'm going to draw 1 heart at a time using, I actually only used 2 of the colors. I decided one of them was a little too dark. It kind of blended in. So I'm just going to use 2 colors. So I draw 2 dots on my nail with a dotting tool. And now I'm going to take my liner brush and I'm going to drag from that dot down into a point to create that heart. So I'm going to do that with the 1 color. I will do that with the next color for another heart, and then I will do the first color again for a 3rd heart. Once I've got all my hearts, I haven't cured yet, so I'm now going to take my gel brush and drag down the center of all the hearts, sort of connecting them. It doesn't have to be 3 hearts. You can do less, you can do more. It just depends on how you want that to look. So I went ahead and did that. I cured for a full 60 seconds, and so now I'm ready for a top coat. But before I apply my gel top coat, I do need a layer of gel base first. So I applied my gel base, I cured for 30 seconds, and that's because my top coat needs something tacky to adhere to, or else it will peel off the dip. So I'm going ahead and capping my free edge first with my gel top coat. I'll apply a thin, even layer of gel top coat to my entire nail. I'll make sure everything is leveled, which this gel top coat levels beautifully, and then I will cure for a full 60 seconds. As always, I'm going to finish off my mani by rehydrating my cuticles with my Scales of a Mermaid cuticle oil. This is in the scent You're My Soil Mate, and unfortunately it isn't available anymore. So this was a scent that was released as a butter lotion, and then it was voted back into the vault as a cuticle oil. So this is your reminder of don't forget to pick up those vault scents when they become available, because they are just so good. And if there is anything you want to pick up, I am an ambassador for Scales of a Mermaid, so you can use my code Genie10 to save 10% off your order. So hopefully this is a little bit of inspo for a non-traditional Valentine's Day mani. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue creating content like this, and it also helps YouTube recommend me to others, which helps grow my channel. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I upload content every Monday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.